shifting gears a little bit to now you went into broadcasting, and now, what I personally, given my age, I know you best for is your short form content.
That's so
how did all that come about?
It's so crazy.
Just for context, before you answer, Rex,
yeah,
do you remember? I remember one of the first times you posted. I was like, "Yo, this is what I tweeted you like, this is brilliant." You were like, "Bro, it's bullshit."
I know it's so dumb. I know it's so dumb. Honest to goodness, I've told this before now a few times, but I wanted off of social media. The political climate got me down. It's so toxic, and there's so much bullshit on social media that I wanted off. But, to kind of do what I do, you need a little bit of social media presence to do, NBA TV or University of Kentucky basketball or whatever it might be. And I saw a stupid video of a bunch of dolphins swimming toward the ocean, and a guy paddleboarding, and one dolphin just jumped out of the water, hit him straight in the chest, and I said, "That's a fucking charge." And I was laughing, and it kind of made me laugh. I tweeted it out there, and people thought it was funny. So I started doing that, and it really took the pressure off. I felt, this is great. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to be clever or anything like that. Just put this stuff out there. And then after a few months of doing that, you can only show so much of people getting jacked up that it's just, it's white noise. So I do remember seeing a video though of a little dog that was dribbling one of them bouncy balls real fast.
Right.
And I put out, "Yo, Kyrie, I'm open." And people thought that was hilarious. So, but it was dogs. And then who doesn't love dogs? And my dog's right there. And we all love dogs. So I thought, all right, let's do some dogs, put out some feel good stuff. And really that's kind of taken over. And I like that a lot.
Right. I think it's important. I get the notification. I tell it's one of the things I have to see on a daily basis, just to see what you found. Man. And so how important is that, to you, to know that you're kind of, maybe you didn't intend for it to have the kind of impact, but one of the things that I think I enjoy most about it is when I read the comments, sometimes you really make someone's day.
I know.
And what does that do for you?
Oh man, D West, going back to college, I probably, battled some depression and stuff like that, and all through my career, and it probably led to more injuries and whatnot. And over the last few years, especially counseling and a couple rehab stints that I went in, I had to really do a lot of, trying to be introspective, a lot of soul searching. And at this point, man, because again, I was a lottery pick. I played for 12 years. I made a bunch of money. And 14 years after I was finished playing, I lived in my car for a little bit, lived on people's couches in LA for a couple years. So I know what it feels like to be down and to feel hopeless and helpless. One of the great parts about this thing is it does help me to feel better. It keeps my mind going and stuff. But, about 2 months ago, I just put out a tweet saying, "Hey, I partnered with my opioid foundation with a nonprofit and said we're going to raise money for COVID relief, first responders, food banks, PPE." And within 2 days, we raised $200,000. And so we've been giving PPE or giving money to nonprofits in New York, New Jersey, other hot spots around the country. We got more to give. That stuff makes me feel good. Also, I've got 4 children, 27, 25, 21, and 19. And for the 2 younger ones' lives, most of their lives, I wasn't very good. I was really from the painkillers. I was there, but I wasn't there.
Right.
So I'm trying to do things differently for them, for me, for those people I've disappointed in the past. I wish somebody would have told. I always felt like life was charmed. I always did. And I knew it wasn't. I knew I wasn't this sort of all-American guy that, University of Kentucky. And so that always kind of bothered me. It's been a little bit liberating to know that I can just be myself and people know I'm flawed as I try to improve and get better every day. It took some of the pressure off, I think.
Nice, man. We appreciate you sharing that with us. Honestly, we do.
All good. Yeah, guys, I'm pretty much an open book. I hope I go out and speak on this stuff now and try to, because I remember sitting in rehab. True story. I was in rehab. I was just fresh off a detox. I was in rehab. I had just got out of detox. And I mean, I'm there, but I'm not there. I'm crying and I'm just, it's awful. They're probably still talking about me on the news. But a longtime friend of mine, Rick Pitino, came to see me. I was in rehab in Louisville and came to see me. And he said something to me. I said, man, nobody's going to want to touch me. I'm toxic. He's like, Rex, you're going to make something out of this story. I said, this is not my story. Well, guess what? It's my story. But what he said, and what's funny is that I know speaking, I can say a lot of stuff, but there might be that one thing in there that I do say that someone latches onto, like this story with Rick. Rick told me right there in that moment, I'll never forget it. He's been through some shit too. And he said, listen, man, for the next little while, you're going to eat a lot of shit. He said, that shit's going to be about the size of a beach ball. And he said, but if you keep doing the right thing, before long, that shit's going to be the size of a basketball, and then a softball, and then a baseball, and then a ping pong ball, and then a pebble, and I was like, no way. But I hung on to it. And whether that makes sense or not, I don't know. It made sense to me in that moment. Right. So I've hung on it, and I've hung on to several other things that people say. So I don't take lightly, when I go to speak to groups or to people that they're not listening, because I think they are. When you're down and out, you know how it is. Remember when you couldn't make a jump shot and you walk into the arena, and if the janitor said, hey, man, you're not doing this, you'd be like, oh, yeah, let me try what he says. You listen to anybody when you're desperate.
Right.
Yeah. And again, appreciate you sharing that. This month, especially being Mental Health Month, we've been trying to incorporate that in for our audience.
Another part of that is like right now. Look, we all get used to going to work out where we work out and, going to gyms. And one thing that's really sort of kept me sane the last 4 or 5 years, I found swimming again. And so I swim 5 or 6 days a week. It clears my head. It's good for me, all that. But not now, not for the last 2 months. And, I'm getting out, I'm walking, my body's not great. I can't jog. So I'm walking a bunch, but that, it hurts my knees, hurts my ankles. It doesn't feel like swimming to me. So look, man, we're all going through this to a degree. You got to sacrifice for other people and try to do what we can do to stay healthy. But man, a lot of people are out there struggling with this mentally, socially. It's an odd time. It's an odd time.
What would you say? And again, we appreciate you opening up. But what would you say to a young guy dealing with something, dealing with some mental health issue? Maybe he's not as confident. Maybe dealing with depression. We've been through that moment where you feel like you're working, but maybe what you're doing is not good enough. What would you share with a young person right now who's in that situation?
Now, and especially in the last couple years, and the NBA, I'm proud of the NBA for becoming the first pro league to have mental health expert. You got to have one. Every team got to have one with the team. And I think that's huge. Now, it wasn't, I remember in the late 80s, a guy named Willie Burton, really good player, played for Miami. Willie was real inconsistent, real up and down. He got like 50 in a game once and got like 2 the next night. And he came out and said, I suffer from depression, and people killed him for it. Like the media was relentless. Like, what's he got to be depressed about? Not that depression, right? And so there was a big stigma with it, and there still kind of is. The other part about that for young people, especially if you're playing sports, a lot of times the recommendation might be for some kind of medication. Well, as you know, athletes, a lot of times they are very resistant to that because they feel like they need to be what's gotten them there, right? So there's a bit of a rub. My biggest advice would be, hey, you're gonna you're going to live life a lot longer than you're going to play sports, play basketball. If something's bothering you, and as athletes, we're wired to kind of be able to handle it on our own, step up, right? This is not something, mental health and addiction and stuff, it's not something you can handle on your own. You must share, you must find whoever that person is, whether it's an aunt or an uncle or mom or dad or brother or friend, to really confide in. And that's hard. It's really hard bearing your soul to someone of the things that are going on inside your head. But once you do, you've got some company there. You've got someone who knows that you're struggling a little bit. So just know you can't handle all the mental health and addiction stuff. You can't handle it on your own. You must seek some kind of help, and just talking about it sometimes can be really liberating.
Again, appreciate that, and definitely agree. The NBA has definitely been a leader in this space. Last week, actually, we talked with David McFarland, a member of our advisory board and also part of the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention.
That's great.
He talked about the need for national initiatives across the board, bringing all the leagues together, not just the leagues, because in some cases, like in the NFL, you're dealing with guys now that are 22, 23 by the time they've gotten there. They could already have significant mental health and wellness issues. They could already have opioid addiction, by that point. So the need is to take it further back than that, to get into high school sports, college sports, even youth sports, to start with not only providing the educational resources necessary and the awareness that's necessary, but then building out basically a mental wellness ecosystem to help these athletes through what are critical periods of anybody's life, let alone an athlete, going through everything you go through. So,
right.
I love that.
And to remove some of that stigma, to get guys more comfortable with addressing their, those issues that they're dealing with. What this is, I usually have two questions at the end, but you've answered one of them, I think, better than we could have asked you to answer it.
Okay.
Ready. But I'll ask a question just about what role do you think, athletics play? Kind of role can athletics play in the health of not only young people but generally society? I mean, what role do you see athletics playing in that in society?
Obviously I'm biased. I'm a team sports guy. I'm a sports guy, and that's my only real point of reference. My dad was a basketball coach, and I grew up just wanting to do that. I think balance is very, very key. I grew up a basketball addict, and that's all I did. I didn't care about school. I didn't really care about anything else. And I think because I was a good basketball player, people were okay with that. And therefore, I went 32 years of my life all through playing and never really diversified myself at all. I mean, I'd play a little golf in the summer, but I didn't grow as a person socially. I don't think socially or very much mentally from about age 18 to 35. And so I think I missed a lot of time. Bills being paid for me, everything being done for me, all the stuff we talk about, and all the rookie transition, all that stuff. And, it's hard to understand when you come from nothing, or, a lot of our backgrounds in sports, when you don't have parents who invest, how the hell are you going to know how to invest? They don't have enough money to invest, so there's a whole other aspect to all of this, but I think the sports, look, it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about life. And if nothing else, it teaches you how to get along with other people from different backgrounds and races and creeds and religions and all of that. It really is the most beautiful thing. And I think a lot of times when you play sports as a kid, it thrusts you into mixing with different races and different backgrounds. And when you don't do that, I have a lot of people that I know personally in my life, some of my good friends who it's almost like it was a developmental issue and they weren't exposed to those types of things as a young person. And when you're not that you can't catch up, but you're playing catch up to understand people that don't look and sound like you.
Soledad O'Brien talked about that exact thing in our first episode, now that I think about it.
Good. Yeah, I love her.
We're fans as well. She is also an advisory board member of the PCL.
She's one of my Twitter buddies too.
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, she's one. She's always on the.
yeah, she's on there.
So, just as a quick follow-up question, though, to what you were just laying out, for younger athletes, how important is it then to take the education maybe a little more seriously, since your life post sports is going to be a lot longer than your life in sports?
Well, I'll say it like this: had I had my degree, and I left school after 2 years. I never went back. Had I had my degree, probably when I, got in trouble and went to rehab and got out, I would have been able to go coach in college somewhere. I could have gone and been on somebody's bench. You can't, you don't have a degree. So I have some regret about that. I definitely have regret about not taking my schoolwork seriously. I always made good enough grades. Good enough, I said, not great grades. But yeah, the education it's everything. I've been making up for time for real the last 4 or 5 years, trying to learn, trying to read as much as I can. I watched a lot of television and did a lot of stuff that, just background noise for a long time. And so, yeah, the education, that's what's going to get you through. And that's what's going to make you, I think, make good decisions in life.
Wow, that's awesome. I've got my last question, and it's a light question. It's simply a question about the morning. Do you have a morning routine? When you get up in the morning, is there something that you have to do?
Really and truly, I get up. I prefer to have coffee, but then if I can or I don't have to. But then normally I go straight to the swimming pool, and I get that 45 minutes to an hour of really sorting out in the water what I'm doing today, what are the pressing things I need to do, file away a couple things that, I need to have thought about. And then when I get out, it's just like, for whatever reason, it's much like after practice. You went in, you did something good for yourself for that day, put in some time to go and really take on the day.
Right.
Not being able to do that kind of messes with me. But so I get up and I'm walking now, doing all that. But yeah, that's it. Waiting until later in the day does not work well for me. It just doesn't. So if I get up and go do that, I'm golden. And I feel very fortunate to have found that.
My last question, Rex, what are you most looking forward to doing post-quarantine?
It'll sound really silly. The first is hug my mom. I went and took her food yesterday, Mother's Day. I left food and waved at she and my father from down in the driveway. So, things like that. Hug my girls. They're in Phoenix. I haven't seen them in a couple months. But just selfishly, I played a lot of basketball over the years. If I played 1,000 basketball games, I know I had some bad losses, but hearing the squeak of the shoes and all that, I don't think I ever had a bad day in the gymnasium. Right. And I want to get back to hearing those squeaks and the music and the players. And also, I don't know about this playing in front of no fans because these fans are going to hear some shit.
Yeah, they've never heard, right?
Be careful what you wish for. Guys kicking the ball in the stands and getting thrown out of games. It'll be like a script, it. Come on, man.
Yeah, they're gonna have to have a hell of a delay. I'll tell you that. That delay is gonna have to be crazy.
That's right. They're gonna hear some shit. Yeah.
Well, this has been great, Rex. For those that want to check it out, Block or Charge, Adult Swim, Thursdays, right?
Night. Yep, Thursday nights live. We do it live. It's crazy.
Awesome. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Anytime.
Absolutely.